So hi, my name's Mick. I'm the front of house engineer and production manager with Kongos. We're going to talk about the drum kit and what we do. We do a bit of a mishmash of live production techniques and recording techniques. In the setup, the band record all their own records, and we steal a lot of their ideas for live use because we want to translate what they did on the record to the house. So you'll see some kind of unconventional things, and those that do any recording will see some of the little tricks that we use. I use a combination of old school techniques and current modern techniques. Kick drum, classic, 9152. Everybody uses that as far as I know. Those that don't, it's their choice. We use all Shure microphones. They're great. They do exactly what we want. They last forever. They sound right. I've used many other companies, but for this it works just great. Like I say, 9152 on the kick drum. Not really a lot to say about that. Classic in the middle of the kick drum for the 91. 52 in the hole, as you would do. Nothing special there. Snare drum, top and bottom is what people mostly do. I've got a Beta 57 on the top and a KSM 8 on the bottom, which is a little bit overkill, but it does sound great. I find that mic's got a lot of bottom end that I don't really like in the vocal, but it really helps on the snare bottom. Now, although those two microphones are there, the bulk of my snare sound comes out of the KSM 313 on the side. It's a ribbon microphone. Using an old technique from Motown Records. Put it on the side of the snare, right in the middle of the shell, and then because it's a figure of 8 capsule, the back of the microphone's out of phase to the front, as is the snare drum. So you don't have to phase flip the bottom, and you just get this enormous snare drum sound out of one microphone. So that's basically the bulk of my sound, is that one mic. Hi-hats, I actually get enough of the hi-hats off the 313 that I have that there just for a bit of stick noise. It's a KSM 137. I would use something else if I had it. I don't. Well, before we get to toms, I'm actually going to rocket ahead to the overhead scenario, because to be honest with you, I have a much more holistic approach to the drum kit, and I use like a studio recording technique. I use Glenn Johns or Recorderman's technique of a overhead directly above the snare drum and one off the side to the floor tom, and pan them hard, and it gives me a great stereo image of the kit and everything I want in it. And I don't just mic for cymbals. I basically use these two microphones along with a kick drum and that side snare as my entire drum sound. That's pretty much the whole thing. For the points where he's really riffing out on things or all the little feathery notes, I do use the tom mics. I'm using Steve Albini's trick of sending two microphones down one line, and you basically just phase flip the bottom microphone and then Y combine them into the same channel. I don't use gates when I'm mixing, so to change the attack or decay of the drum, you just move this microphone. If you want a longer note, move it more into the center of the drum. You want a shorter note, move it towards the edge. Just like trimming your gates. It's great. I was about there before, so I'm going to go back to there. So that's that trick, but again, these are hardly even in the PA, because most of it comes from the two overheads. Now in a studio I'd use something much bigger, but I can't really do that live. So these little Beta 181s have been a godsend actually. They're really small profile, so you don't really see them, and they sound great. So out front, basically what you hear tonight or any one of these shows that we play is mostly the 91, a little bit of 52 just for fatness, the 313 and the two overheads, and that's the meat and potatoes of the drum sound, to be honest with you. The other things are just for filling in grace notes. He's a pretty dynamic drummer, he goes all over the place, so I need that just to pick up those little edges, but that's about it for that. Cool, so moving on to Guitar World. We've gone through a lot of iterations with Danny. At the moment we're back down to one microphone. We used to use 3 on him, because we had 2 amplifiers running, so we'd have wet and dry or stereo or this, that, the other. We've gone through the current iteration is a mono amplifier and a stereo feed from his pedal board. KSM 313 appearing again on stage. Great little ribbon mic, takes an absolute beating as well. We haven't broken one yet, and it's been on tour for 2 years. So they're great, they sound amazing. Don't need to EQ it, just move the microphone a little bit. Sounds killer. Used to use KSM 32s for the stereo wet effects things. They were great for that, but he doesn't use stereo amps anymore, so I just dropped the mics off the channels. That's pretty much it. He's easy. Everybody in the band sings, but I think we're going to talk about those vocals later. Shure came out with a KSM 9 some years ago. We loved it, but it picked up too much of the stage, so we changed to KSM 9HS, which fixed all of those problems and really nailed it for us. So that's what everybody's singing on except the drummer. He's singing on, unfortunately, a Beta 58. We're trying to get a 58, but they don't make a 58 in that shape, so we're going to try and wangle something out of that to make it work.
My name is Geron Rains. I'm the playback engineer and monitor engineer for Kongos. And today we're just going to take a look at a couple of the mic setups that we use, specifically for me with accordion and bass. So we can start over here, and we've actually we ran into a lot of issues trying to figure out the best way to mic an accordion, especially in a live environment. And on top of that, trying to be wireless. So we have built a contraption here that allows us to easily mic the accordions, and these are just some Shure boundary microphones, which, with them being so close to the accordion, poses a few issues because you want to pick up the grand scope of all of the reeds playing. So we find out at front of house specifically, sometimes we have to chop up the EQ a bit more than you would typically if you were miking a little bit further away from the accordion, but it allows our accordion player, Johnny, to move freely and not have any issues with cables running out of the back or anything. And it's been a great solution for us. It's worked really well. There's a little bit of padding around it to help shield excess noise from getting into those boundary microphones. Let's see, over here in Keys World, we run 2 Beta 58s for Johnny. He oftentimes is playing keys, other times when he's playing accordion, he's downstage. And both of these go into computers for processing. He runs a lot of vocoder effects and other things that he does using expression with his mouth. So both of these microphones go back into processing over in Playback World, over in stage left. And yeah, that's about it over here. All right, so over here in bass world, just a couple things going on. We mic our cab with an SM7B. We really like the way, we went through a bunch of different microphones. We started with a 181 at one point. I think we tried a couple different setups, even just the regular 57, but we landed on the SM7B, and it really works well for us with Dylan's bass tone. We run ULXD wireless typically for all of our guitar wireless and accordion wireless. Today, since we're here at Sweetwater with Shure, they have brought the new Accent digital wireless setup, and I believe that James will talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But yeah, this is the bass rig running through the Ready DI, and that's about it. All right, so over here in monitor world, we typically run a PSM 900 system whenever we do fly dates and we're traveling. Today, since we're here at Sweetwater, we have a PSM 1000 system with us, and again, the Accent wireless for all the instruments and microphones. This here is our playback rig, and this does all the processing for tracks, and then this setup down here does all the processing for the keys and keyboard sounds. Both systems are fully redundant, a lot of switching and processing from the keys world, which is all the vocals and MIDI controls and stuff all get routed over here to this unit for processing before it goes back into the console area.